Hey everybody, it's Mike Weller and the Weller Group at Keller Williams Realty in California here. We are here for another one of our California relocation webinars. We're not talking about relocating to California. This is for you specifically if you're thinking about maybe relocating out of California like a lot of people are right now. So I'm here this morning, Mike Weller. Adriana Kessley from our group is here this morning. Morning, Adriana.
Morning.
And our special guest today to talk about his home market is Michael Sebastian. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Hey, Mike. How are you doing? Adriana, how are you doing today?
We're doing great. I'm doing great. So thanks for being here. I know I said good morning. It's actually afternoon where you are because I will let you share with everybody where you're at and where you're coming from. And so tell everybody where you're at.
So we are in Apex, North Carolina. And Apex is in the Raleigh sphere. We are just south of Raleigh, about 20 to 30 minutes outside of downtown Raleigh. And it's a little more quiet here. It's very nice. People love it here. It's a bit more upscale. But if you need that big city experience, you could just drive up the road and get it. So we love it here in Apex.
Yeah, and so that's the research triangle that we hear so much about in North Carolina. Is that correct? That's that area?
Yeah, yes, the research triangle is what's drawing a lot of people here. And some have called the research triangle Silicon Valley of the East. And in the research triangle, there's pharmaceutical, there is tech, and it's a beautiful area and it draws people from all over the country.
Yeah. So when I was putting together this series of relocation webinars for our clients here in California, yours was one of the names that came to mind because you and I have known each other for quite a few years. Share with everybody here your background and your journey and how you were once here as a Keller Williams agent in Orange County, and now you're there as a Keller Williams agent. So share that journey with everybody here.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So in 1978, my wife and I got married. We both grew up in New York. I grew up in Rochester. She grew up outside of Buffalo. And we ended up meeting in Buffalo at a job I was at. And we got married. And after 3 days of being married, we decided to jump in the car, put a tent trailer on the back of it, take 3 months and drive out to California where, the sun was shining. And we didn't have any long, cold winters there. So we spent a little over 40 years in California. When her parents got to be in their 90s and she's the oldest of 7 kids, we decided to transition back to the East Coast, but we didn't want to go to New York again for a number of reasons. My family is in Florida. And so we picked a point that was right in between the two areas, and North Carolina ended up being it. And we settled here in the middle of 2019. And we're very happy about the decision we made. We ended up here because we're right next door to Cary. My son bought a home in Cary. Our son bought a home in Cary when he found out that we were serious about leaving. So we decided that rather than go to South Carolina like we originally thought, that we would travel a bit more north and stay closer to him. So he lives in Cary, we live in Apex. So that's, again, about 20 minutes away from us. So that's how we ended up here. We're glad we did.
Yeah. So your son, he wound up there with his employer. He's in the tech. You mentioned Research Triangle, Silicon Valley, the East. So tell us a little bit more about that, about the tech, about the employers there, the tech industry, some of the other big industries that are there. What's driving that market economically?
What drives the market here in North Carolina, and especially in this area, generally is RTP, Research Triangle Park. This is an area of several miles where pharmaceutical companies have located themselves. Companies as big as SAS, SASS, if you're not familiar with them, they're probably the largest tech company out there. And hundreds of smaller tech companies are located there. Again, pharmaceutical and pharmaceutical manufacturing is there, and those are the two big industries. And a lot of that is driven by the education healthcare services here in North Carolina too. So the healthcare services have sort of teamed up with the people at RTP so that we have healthcare that is very, very good. It's excellent. So you got the Duke healthcare system, you've got Wake County healthcare system, and they're kind of in partnership with some of that RTP stuff. And a lot of the research that occurs in those industries starts right here at RTP and generates its way out through the country.
Gotcha. Okay. So you mentioned Duke in there a little bit. I heard Duke. Research Triangle, I think some people at least know or recognize or realize, and then also college basketball fans are kind of, very aware of that area. But talk about the different universities that kind of are the, the educational drivers there.
Oh my goodness. If you hate basketball, don't come here.
Okay.
College basketball is, it's wacky here. And I'm not that much of a sports guy, but everybody else in this area is. And when the playoffs come, the college playoffs, they've got it here on the TV in the market center. And every place you go, there's people, yelling and hooting and hollering for the Tar Heels or, whatever teams they have. But yeah, basketball is a big deal in North Carolina.
But and then
go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Adriana.
I was just going to say, aside from basketball, can you give us a good idea of, what are people doing on weekends and evenings and what kind of recreation the area offers?
Well, you got a couple of things. You got people that have homes on the beach. And what's kind of cool is homes on the beach here is not like having a home in Laguna Beach or in Newport Beach. The homes here are much more, shall we say, modest. And you're still next to the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. But, you don't have the same expense as you do there. So people own homes at the beach, or they might own a home in the mountains. You're about an hour away from the mountains here, so you can go to one city that comes to mind is Boone. People love it there. It's kind of like our Big Bear in our area, but it's bigger and it just got a lot of things for people to do. So one of the recreational areas is Boone. Then you got Asheville. Asheville is Laguna Beach, but with hippies. Music all over the place. Just tons of music, tons of great restaurants, very bohemian. We went there last year and just loved it. Spent 2 days there and it was just fabulous. Haven't been to Boone yet, but we intend to get there at some point. Been to the beaches. So the ones that come to mind, there's Carolina Beach. There's, oh gosh, I can't even think of the names of it, but there's 4 or 5, Wrightsville Beach, where the Wrightsville brothers launched the first airplane, and several other beaches up and down the coast. You're not that far from Hilton Head. You've got all the East Coast beaches that you can take advantage of. So that's what people do here. But if you want to stay around home, the American Tobacco Trail is 22 miles of beautifully manicured trails, and you're walking in the trees, and it goes from Durham to outside of Apex in New Hill, and you can walk those trails. You can get on the trail, get off where you want, but it's really nice, and people do a lot of that. There's lakes here close to us. Jordan Lake is one of the bigger lakes we have. A lot of boating, a lot of fishing. So people get out and they do a lot of things outside here because the weather is really nice.
Yeah. It doesn't get super hot, I guess, right? Probably a little bit more humidity than we have, but not super hot like some other places. And you have a real 4 seasons weather, but not.
Yeah, we might get snow. You might get a dusting of snow maybe 2 days out of the winter.
Yeah. Okay.
You got a fair amount of rain.
So based on what you were saying just now, I interpret it to be like more people there might have second homes than people here in California might. It's just more feasible. Did I misunderstand that, or is that kind of part of what you were saying there?
No, that's part of what I'm saying.
Okay.
People that have been here for a while, it's not unusual for them to have a house on the beach.
Right. Okay. Okay, and I have to ask this. I always like, this is always a fun question for me because you're talking about now, you're in Raleigh, might decide to drive to the beach house for the weekend or up to the mountains for a weekend. Um, I think I paid $3.89 for gas the other day when I filled up. What are you looking at for a gallon of gas right now to drive to the beach for the weekend?
Well, if you're okay with 87 or 89 octane, you're about 229.
Uh-huh.
My car uses premium fuel, and in California, the best I could get was 91 octane. Here, you get 93 octane,
Right.
and last time I think it was it 290 a gallon, I think, something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. So a little bit more than $1 cheaper than here.
Mhm.
And you're getting a higher octane, high test fuel. Okay. It's amazing. Whenever I ask this question, the gas is always cheaper everywhere else. Isn't that funny?
As soon as I got out of California, the gas dropped by $1 or $1.50 a gallon.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, okay. So I know North Carolina is not one of the no income tax states, but it's a lower income tax. It's kind of a modest income tax. So what is talk about the whole tax environment and the business environment there? Are you able to kind of tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Sales tax in our area and sales tax like in California can be regional, but we pay 7.2% in sales tax. Property taxes are 0.088.
Wow, really?
And the state income tax rate here is 5.449. So in all those cases, it's more modest than what you're experiencing and what I experienced for the years I was in California.
Sure.
But those are your tax rates.
Okay. So you have an influx of people coming there, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have an influx of people coming there.
Absolutely.
Probably some people from California and the West Coast, but you also have a lot of people probably from the Northeast, I'd imagine, coming down from Massachusetts and New York and New Jersey and all those places with like insane taxes and terrible weather.
Yeah.
Here in California, at least we have good weather. But so tell me about what you're hearing from those people, why they're coming, what they're, what's driving. I mean, I think I know what's driving them, but talk a little bit more about that. What's driving that
Sure.
That migration?
Well, the people that are coming here, one of two things: either they've been transferred here as a result of places like Research Triangle or educational reasons, or they're coming here because they're tired of New Jersey taxes and New York taxes and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And what they feel like are oppressive governments, if you will, an oppressive standard of living. It's just very expensive in those states. So they're coming here, they're getting better weather, they're spending less money, they're getting more house for their dollar, and they come here either to retire or to raise their family here. We have a fair number of people that we bring in from other countries too, that are tech savvy. They've been trained in tech in other countries and they come here to work. So we have a measure of those folks. But most people are coming here because they view this as a better standard of living than where they're coming from.
Sure. No, that completely makes sense. That definitely makes sense. So between the weather and the taxes, the cost of living, all of that stuff, plus, being a business owner, I don't know if some of those folks are business owners too, but like you said, maybe, migrating south from some of those states that are kind of like California in some ways, where they kind of have their hands in everything. It's a little bit easier to run and operate and grow a business too, I would imagine. So,
Sure.
Okay. So we've talked about a lot of good stuff. People are thinking, okay, well, this sounds, Raleigh or Wake County or the Research Triangle, that whole area. It's interesting. I want to learn more. I want to check it out. What does a house there look like? So let's talk real estate a little bit, since that's what
Let's talk real estate.
Yeah. So entry level home, based on what you shared with me, it sounds like somewhere in the 300,000s, depending on exactly what you're looking for and where you're at, but kind of let's hear about
Right.
that a little bit.
Right. So if you came here and you called a good real estate agent and said, hey, I'd like to look at different homes here, they'd say, well, would you like a resale home or would you like new construction? And the reason the agent will ask that is because new construction is probably easier to come by today. Resales are, our inventory on resales is down probably 50 to 60% of where it was just a couple of years ago. And that's partly because of the influx of people coming in.
Yeah.
And truth to tell, we have seen a rise in prices. So the builders have bought land here, and every builder you can think of that's a good builder, as well as some custom builders, is building new properties. In fact, we're moving into new construction in June. We close the first week in June. And to give you a real world example, we're moving into a 2,450 square foot home with 4 bedrooms, brand new Lennar construction, very nice. We got some very nice options. And that home is in the upper 300s for us.
Well, below 4.
Not a lot of land, but I don't need a lot of land.
Right.
But if you, but at 4 to 450, you can find a resale if you can win the bidding war on it. That might put you on a half acre or an acre of land. You might have a pond next to you, and that might cost you a little bit more money. But somewhere in the neighborhood of between 350 and 500, you can have nearly any home that you can imagine.
Okay, so the market, I mean, the bulk of the market really is like sub 500, it sounds like.
Yes.
What you're saying, right? And
yes.
And so what happens if you get up to 500, 550? What does that look like?
Well, you're looking at probably something like a new Toll Brothers home.
Okay.
That might offer you 3,500 square feet on a nice, not huge, but a nice piece of land in a very nice new community. If you want to spend $700 or $750, you can do that too. And that will get you a custom built home in a nice community.
Okay.
Or not in a community. There's plenty of land here for you to, to put a new home in. For example, I just sold 14.6 acres. There was a listing I had before I went out of production. And we sold that for $339. It's in an area called New Hill, which is outside of Apex. It's rural, and it's about a mile from Jordan Lake. So you're close to Jordan Lake, you're close to Raleigh, you're close to Durham, you're close to the roads. You've got Wake County schools, or Apex schools actually, which is good. And the people that are buying it are probably going to subdivide it, put 2 homes on it. By the time they're done, they might be in it between the land and the 2 homes, maybe 1.1 or 1.2, and they could sell each one of those homes most likely for $650 or $700 a piece.
Wow.
That's 14 acres of land. They could subdivide it even more if they wanted to.
Right.
But you don't have to spend a ton of money, but you can if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what would it look like if you were coming from out of state with, say, like $1 million budget, which isn't really out of the question for a lot of people moving from California and other states? What would that, a single home for 1 million? Can you paint that picture for us?
Yeah. If you wanted to spend $1 million, you'd probably be on a golf course. You'd probably have a fairway view or something close to the green. You'd have a home that, in most cases, if it weren't opulent, it would be pretty big. You'd probably be looking at 3,000 square feet. And again, like any place else, location dictates the exact money you're going to spend, but it'd be a very nice community, probably gate guarded. You can spend $1 million, but if you do, you're going to get a very, very nice home.
Swimming pool, all of that stuff.
I'm sorry?
Swimming pool? Is there?
Most likely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. But really, based on what you're saying, you don't, that's not even necessary. It sounds like you could, the average home here in Orange County now, single family home is running up on $1 million almost. So you can sell that average home here, go there, buy something for, like
Half
you were
that.
describing, 500 or 600, and
Sure.
be trading up into the luxury market, going from average to luxury, and still having 400 grand or so left over for
Yep.
other stuff. So, wow. Okay. Well, I should probably call a good realtor over there, I guess, right? If you've got me
I'll
all
see if I can
excited
find
here.
you one.
Like, I don't know about you, Adriana, but it sounds pretty good. It sounds
Yeah, it's
pretty good.
enticing.
So, well, this is awesome. This is really awesome. So, and the reason, so a couple more questions just on the homes. You mentioned so much of the market is new construction there, but certainly there is that market segment that's very heated and competitive right now with the resales. The resale homes you're looking at there, how old are they? Are they from the 60s, the 80s? Are they from the 2000s? What do those look like typically?
North Carolina, this area experienced most of its growth in the between mid 90s and the mid 2000s. So you're going to find generally 90s homes, 2000, 2015. And then from 15 to about 20, there's less resales, but generally the resales are going to be 95 to 2005, typically.
Gotcha. Okay. So newer homes, still, 20 years old, but newer, and once you got to that era, the home design and construction, it's always interesting, here in Southern California, where we have these homes built back in, a lot in our area, a lot in the 70s, but some in the 60s to 50s, and you kind of go through and you can see every decade the design and the floor plans and the flow and everything improved quite a bit, from this, the closets have gotten bigger and the masters have gotten bigger. So, it sounds like everything you have there, built from 95 or 2000, through now, those are all, functional homes. Like you don't see a lot of that functional obsolescence that we see in, something built in 1967. So, okay.
Right.
And
some of those older homes are located in areas where you're sitting maybe on an acre of land. It's, you got a lot of trees, or the back of your home after your backyard, you're looking at a kind of a forest.
Like
there's a lot of trees here, a lot of trees. So, a resale might get you a nice little piece of land with a home that, if you've got that money left over from your home sale, you could gut it, completely remodel it, and have a beautiful piece of property.
Do you see some of that? You see a lot of that? Yeah.
Oh boy. The construction industry is alive and well here.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet it is. So, okay. Well, thank you for joining us here this morning, Michael. If anybody has any further questions or wants to connect with Michael, just reach out to us here at the Weller Group. We will put you right in touch and get you connected. Any parting words, Michael, and words of wisdom?
Well, I'll say this, comparing the two places, I love California. I loved, there's things I miss about California. There's no doubt about it. But the things that you gain here make up for that in my mind. And if you're thinking about leaving California, or if you're thinking about some place to relocate, this is a real popular place for people. It offers an awful lot of things, and so do other locales. But here, you enjoy a little more relaxed lifestyle. People are terrific here. People are very friendly. We don't see a lot of the conflict that we're seeing in other places. And it's just a very nice place to raise a family. Educational opportunities are tremendous here, including advanced education. Healthcare is good. Taxes are relatively inexpensive, and there's a lot of employment here, opportunities. So, if you're thinking about it, this is a good place to consider. And we'll leave it at that, Mike. And, if anybody's got some interest, we can send them some information.
Absolutely. So, Okay, well, thank you everybody for tuning in today. Just reach out if you want to connect with Michael and learn a little bit more about the Research Triangle in North Carolina. So thanks for tuning in today. Take care, everybody. See you soon.
Nice chatting with you, Mike and Adriana.
Thanks, Michael. Take care.